Hi, I have no talent, but I'm making a video game anyway. So last time I showed all of you where I started, what the plan was, and how far I got in my first week of working. This time I want to show you what the next mechanic is that I'm gonna build. We ended up with a incremental game last time, which I'm very happy with still, and I have a bunch of plans to kind of expand it. But there's a second genre that I'm introducing into this one, and I'm super excited to kind of show you guys what it's gonna be. The expansion that I want to do to the game is that when it turns night or when your day ends, the amount of stress you build up does something. And the thing I came up with is that as soon as you go to bed, the amount of stress determines how many sheep you have to count before you can go to bed. And I'm gonna do something really fun with it, so bear with me. However, things are gonna be a little different. As most of you have probably noticed, English is not my first language. I learned English from playing video games and swearing at others online. This means that I have a bit of a sailor mouth, and I'm actually trying to get rid of it, and I thought this was a great platform to try and start. So every time you hear this sound, I'm actually swearing, and I'm trying to not do it, so I'm counting the amount of swears I have each episode. You're free to count with me, but I'm trying to reduce it per episode. The swears that are in there are also somewhat controlled because I, of course, cut the footage. But still, like it's a good challenge for me to try and get out of the habit of when I speak English, I just swear a bunch, which is kind of pointless. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you all, so now back to the bed mechanic. So when you go to bed, I needed to somehow build something where you can look at the ceiling and see sheep move from position 1 to position 2. And that was already quite difficult. So far, I haven't done any movement. The only thing I did was, of course, like the character movement, but that was a different type of movement because this would be physics-based. It was a whole mess, especially because I'm looking at the ceiling and gravity doesn't work like that. and to stay in a sense of realism, right? As I said in the first episode, I want this to be as true as possible. I kind of want to show everyone what it's like when I start building this, right? Because I have this idea in my head, but I have no clue how to build this. And this is the majority of what I do. I just sit and I just think. I try to figure it out. And I watch YouTube videos and I look up tutorials, and the majority of the time I'm just trying to understand kind of, okay, what are ways I can do this? What do I want? How will I build it? And that's a lot of time actually that just goes into thinking. So when I finally figured out kind of how I wanted to build it, I built it and it wasn't working at all. The sheep was not in the position I wanted it to be.
There you are. Hello, Mr. Sheep Clone. But you were not spawned at the correct position. Sheep. Why are you there? What the What? The actual flying?
And this was breaking me. For the life of me, I couldn't understand what was happening. I built the whole thing like, oh, the sheep should spawn, and then it should move from point A to point B, all in one go, tested the code, and it was just spawning in the wrong position.
Dude, where the did that thing spawn? What the hell? What? I'm very confused.
One eternity later.
Let's see if that's my issue. Let's just instantiate first. I've never in my life. I'm so dumb. Okay, so that was my issue. The more you know. Don't do too much in one go. Bad call.
So in the end, the problem was that I was just going too fast. Even after all that thinking, I just built too much in one go because I thought so much about it. I was like, oh, I'll just build like this, build like that, build like that. I totally forgot that the bug could be in a different point than what was actually happening, right? Because the thing spawned and then immediately moved to a position and got stuck. And I just kept looking at why is it spawning in the wrong place, where it was just the movement that was the issue. It's stuff like that just makes this take ages at times. Anyway, at that point I was ready to kind of move on, and the one thing that I wanted to happen was that the sheep would only move if you look at it, right? Because there would be this free camera mode while sleeping, and I'll get to that. But The idea is that only if you look at the ceiling, the sheep would move. And then eventually you could make a jump. But before I started on that, the project was getting quite big. Like, I now had 2 big mechanics working. I had physics, non-physics. It was getting bigger and bigger. So I thought, okay, let's tidy up a bit. If this project's gonna grow, I'm gonna need it to stay in some sort of shape where I can use it. And it's good to keep your project somewhat clean. The one thing I know from production, like if we have a messy project, it's gonna be a messy time. So I tidied up the project, and the one thing that I've been trying to kind of keep out of all the footage, which was a little hard, is all my groaning and moaning.
All right. Gonna speed is speed. What did I put speed at?
Because I'm a millennial. I've passed the good old 30s, and I actually have back pain. I pulled out my back while freaking doing sports, which made this a lot more painful to do. It's super stupid, but again, realism. I had to do a lot of moving around. I did a bunch of walks to like keep myself somewhat moving, to not break my back, to keep it non-stiff. And the walks were actually quite nice, right? I do try to exercise somewhat. I'm not the healthiest person on earth, but I try to do physical activity to a certain extent, because it does help put my mind in order. You know, I'm doing my work, I'm doing my life, I'm doing this video kind of format, but I'm also making the game. So there's a lot of creative voices in my head, or, you know, creative thoughts that need room. And they get room when I walk or when I do other types of exercise. So go outside. It's good for you. After the project was kind of cleaned up, I worked on the jump, and you will see a lot of faking in this. I did a lot of small little tricks to try and make the jump feel good. However, I also made a ton of mistakes. I had weird things happening with the physics. I forgot colliders. I forgot perspective. I forgot all sorts of stuff. But the cool thing is, like, when you look at the sheep now, you can click to jump.
Aw, yeah, dude. It's working. Look at it. Mop. Mop. Mop.
And with this jump, I tweaked a bunch of stuff. For example, the fence is smaller. Like, the visual of the fence is bigger than the actual collider to make the jump feel more fair.
So I just made this so that if you land on the top, it does a bounce and it doesn't die. And I made it a little smaller so it feels fairer. Mind games.
There is also a continuous mass increase to make it so that when you're in the air, you go down faster, making the jump feel better to a certain extent. There was a bunch of these little tricks. You know, a jump is important. It needs to feel good. Then if the sheep reaches the end, it needs to disappear, and then a new one needs to spawn from the pool of sheep. There was again something really weird happening where sheep wouldn't reset. So when I end the day, I determined how many sheep should be spawned the night, but somehow that wasn't getting less. So let's say you needed 5 sheep and the first sheep spawned and disappeared, then it would say it would still need 5 sheep, where it actually should have said 4 sheep.
Something's not going right. It's adding. I don't get it. I do not understand why.
I looked around a bunch, and I eventually realized that I was doing an update where it would reset the sheep back to the original amount of sheep every single frame, which is 60 times per second, give or take. So that's why it wasn't becoming less. So now that the mechanic was in there, okay, I wanted the night to actually feel like the night. And this is where things were starting to get interesting, because I was doing light baking, like I said last episode, and apparently it is really difficult to switch between the different light bake textures. There's no real feature for that, so I had to do it myself, which was fine, but it again took a while. And now the vibe was starting to really get there. And most of you that are watching and are a little keen-eyed, you can probably see what the second genre is gonna be, because it's currently getting the vibe, right? Like, it's getting this spooky vibe that I'm going for, where during the day you're playing this incremental game where you're continuously getting stressed and trying to earn money, and then during the night you have this kind of spooky atmosphere where you're trying to count sheep while things happen. But we're not there yet. And when this was implemented, something just clicked. It felt really, really good. I was super happy. I could play and I could earn money during the day, and then during the night, like jump with the sheep, and then it would be day again, and then I would start earning money again. And this accumulating stress factor was already quite fun, because you're like, oh no, I need to jump with the sheep. I need to get as many sheep across as possible. And then, you know, during the day, you would feel like, oh no, I'm still stressed because I didn't count enough sheep, but now it's gonna go night again, and I have to count sheep again. And it was, I don't know, it worked. It was really fun. And I was very proud at this moment.
Oh man, that's so cool. Okay. Okay. That's so cool.
And that brings to what makes it feel so good. I have a core loop now, a core gameplay loop. I have a day, a night, a day, a night, and they feed into each other. Now the fun part is that I'm gonna add an extra layer to it, because right now you have day, night, and they influence each other, but there's no overarching goal. I'm adding to this that there's a goal to reach before a certain moment. So every week you need to pay rent. But as we've established, if you're working while stressed, you only earn half money. So now there is a simple core loop that is somewhat engaging, where there are these opportunities to explore to make this harder or easier for the player in certain ways. I tweaked some final things. I wanted to make it feel as good as I could. I let my wife play. She was actually scared. She asked me multiple times, are there jump scares in this already? Because even though she watched a lot of horror films, she hates jump scares. I still wanted the camera to be a little different, because I wanted to expand the day cycle next. And the camera wasn't in a position where I felt I could do that properly. I eventually settled on a perspective that worked for me, that I really liked. Initially, I made one that was really bad. But eventually I got something that I liked. And the game is starting really to already come together quite quickly. But it's definitely not there yet. For me, it currently misses two main things. And it is choice and challenge. And next episode, we're going to be building one of those. So if you're interested in kind of seeing how this will progress, what will happen next, maybe consider subscribing. And if you've counted the amount of bleeps, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I hope you're enjoying this as much as I'm enjoying doing it. And I'll see you next time.
What's up? What's up?